Hey guys, this is Shane with After You News again. Doing a walk around of the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. This is the front of the car. What you hear right now is the air conditioner blower. If you can hear that in the video. When I got out of the car, it was on EV mode, so I don't know if the gas motor kicked back on again or not, but nice looking car. It's big. It's got 3 rows of seats. Pop the trunk and you guys can see what it's like in the back. Assuming I can figure it out. There it is. Alright, so this is the back. It's obviously with the 3rd row of seats down. Now they're pretty easy to put up. Hopefully you can see much of this. You just grab this and you pull, and then you have a full 3rd row of seats. This little mat back here kind of gets in the way. But anyway, that's the 3rd row seats. This being the limited edition, it has an electric lift gate. And I'll show you the inside of the car. It's very nice looking. You can see it's got two-tone gray, the light wood grain trim. It's got navigation. It's automatic. All these cars are automatic. Now, you're not going to be able to make this out real good on the screen, but I want you to see the navigation. It's touchscreen. You can change all the settings of the touchscreen. The thing that bothers me about the navigation screen on this car is that it's very low resolution. You can see the little pixels. It's very pixelated, which is kind of disappointing in a car in this price range. The resolution of the screens in the Fords I've been driving recently are quite a bit better than the resolution on this. You see the little screen right here. This is the multifunction screen. It shows you all kinds of things about the car when you're driving. That's where you see if you're in EV mode or gasoline powered mode. Now this car has no key, as you can see. It's one of these, like most of the new cars that I've been seeing lately. It has the keyless start, so you basically put your foot on the brake, hit the power button, and it turns on, and when you get out you push your foot on the brake, turn it off, and hit that again. It's got all the steering wheel controls. It's got a Bluetooth system that interfaces with your phone that works pretty well. It's got the system that will control your garage door opener. This is kind of cool. It's got a mirror so you can see your kids in the back seat, and if you push it and let it come all the way down, it'll hold your sunglasses. I want you to see this gauge. This is kind of weird. That looks like a tachometer, but you can see it's marked in kilowatts. That's got to do with the battery pack on this car. It looks and moves like a tachometer when you're driving, but it's not. But other than that, it's a very cool vehicle. Had a lot of fun driving it the last few days. You can see the back there. This is the 2nd row seats. That's the little cut through that I was talking about in the drive along. It's a very nice car. Had fun driving it. Thanks for going through the walk around with me. See you guys later. Hey guys, this is Shane with After You News, and sitting here behind the wheel of a Toyota Highlander hybrid SUV. We're going to go for a little bit of ride in this thing. This is the first hybrid I've ever driven, so it takes a little bit of getting used to. But I want you to hear how quiet this is. Right now the car is in EV mode, which means the engine is not even running, so listen. There's hardly any sound. The little whine you hear is from the blower for the air conditioner, because it's 106 here today. After you get to a certain speed or you give it a certain amount of gas, the gasoline engine will kick off, and it'll give you more acceleration so you can get out in traffic and get going. This car is very quiet. It's pretty impressive how quiet the machine actually is. It gets really good gas mileage. Of course, with a hybrid you expect really good gas mileage. The gauges are kind of strange. It's got a normal speedometer, but instead of a tachometer, it's got this gauge that has kilowatts, which is, I guess, how much that's charging the battery, I would presume. It uses regenerative braking, so as you brake, you charge the batteries in the car. It's got a little bitty screen between the 2 AC gate vents here, and you can see what I'm talking about in the photo gallery. But between the AC vents, there's a little screen that shows you all kinds of functions that the car is doing, and it will show you when you're using the gasoline motor alone, when you're going battery power alone, and when you're using both. Now, in times of when you really want to accelerate, if you really put the pedal down, it will use the battery packs and the gasoline engine, and the battery packs are basically supplementing the gasoline engine to give you better performance, so you can get in traffic, or you can pass somebody, or in any kind of emergency type maneuver where you feel the need to put the accelerator down. Now, as you drive, you will charge the battery some as well. It's kind of interesting to watch the little screen. I find myself staring at it every now and then when I'm riding in the passenger seat, just to see what the car is doing, because it switches seamlessly back and forth between using the battery pack, using the battery pack and the gas engine, and just using the engine. So it's pretty neat. One of the things that was really strange to me that I really had to get used to was when you first start this car, there is no noise. The first couple times I started it up, I thought I didn't turn the key enough because the car wasn't running. There was no noise coming from it, and literally the car wasn't running. The motor was not going, because until a certain speed you don't need the gasoline engine, your own battery power alone. Like right now, we're sitting here, I don't think you could hear it on the tape, but the gasoline engine just turned off. So now we're accelerating, the motor just kicked back off. Now I'm going to go real slow, and I'm going to see if I can get the batteries to kick back on and put me back in EV mode. Now, I was playing with the car earlier, and it appears that if you don't have the air conditioner on very high, if you're not drawing a lot of electricity, a lot of power, up to about 15 miles an hour, the car will run on battery power alone. Now I'm going to stop. I'm going to let the battery kick off. All right, the motor is no longer running. We're on battery power alone. Now I'm going to accelerate. We're still on battery power alone. We're at 5. Still all battery power. We're at 10, still on battery power alone. We're almost to 15 miles an hour. We are now at 15 miles an hour. We're still on battery power. Can't believe how quiet the car is. I mean, there's no sound but the tires. The engine just kicked on. That was about 18 miles an hour, and now we're running on the gasoline engine. Now, this car, it has a button that you can press to put it in EV mode, but EV mode only works in very specific circumstances. You can put it in EV mode if you are, going really slow. I guess if you're at a red light and the engine's running, you can hit it. It's got an economy button as well right next to the EV mode button on the center console here. Now, the car is in economy mode right now, and I wondered what that button did. And after driving the car for a few days, what it does is when it's in economy mode, it feels like it retards the power. You don't get the full power of the engine. It's geared, and everything, the performance-wise with the computer and everything, is more geared towards fuel economy. You notice that a whole lot when you're getting out in traffic. If you floor it with economy mode on, it's very soft. You don't get very much acceleration. The car will go, and you can get out in traffic. It just feels very soft and bland as far as acceleration goes. Now, if you push the economy button and you turn the economy mode off, it will give you all of the power the car has to offer, and it feels like twice as much performance as when you're in economy mode. Now, you're in a hybrid. This isn't a car for sports car guys. This isn't something you're going to go flying around and hot rodding in. But, if you're in a situation where you're on the highway and there's a lot of traffic, or if you're in on a busy intersection and you're trying to get out into traffic and you need the power that the car has to offer, you can turn that off and you can go. Now, one of the things I've noticed driving this Toyota the last few days is how quiet it is just overall. It's very, very quiet even when the gasoline engine is running on the highway. It rides very smooth. I've driven several of Ford's cars over the last month and a half or 2 months, and for the most part they haven't really been luxury cars. This is definitely, I would consider, more of a luxury car. It's an upscale car. It's not, a Lexus. It's not the epitome of luxury when it comes to Toyota, but you can definitely tell that the ride in this car, it's geared towards comfort. It's not geared towards performance. This is an SUV, but it is not geared for off-road. This is a luxury kind of crossover cruising type SUV, and it rides very smooth. It's very quiet. Even over, this has been the bumpy test road that I normally take you guys over, and you can probably tell from the camera, it's just smooth. There's not a lot of wobbling around. There's not a lot of bumps. It's not harsh. It rides very well. And when we stop again, this always trips me out. The motor's going to cut off, and there it goes. The engine just turned off. It does that on its own. It's seamless. You don't really notice it unless you roll into the throttle slowly and then decide that you really need to get going. So say you're sitting at a red light, and the red light changes green, and you're looking down, and you start rolling, and then you notice that you're 4 or 5 car lengths behind the car in front of you, and you need to go, so you press the pedal. It feels a lot like turbo lag. So you press the pedal, and it takes a second for the gasoline engine to kick off and get you going. It's more pronounced when you're not from a dead stop, when you're kind of rolling, but it feels like turbo lag. It's not a big deal, and it certainly doesn't take away from the car. It's just something that I noticed and I thought was a little bit interesting about the car. The inside of this car is nice. This particular one you'll see in the photo gallery, it's gray. It's got some light wood trim and things. It's got a lot of features in here. It's got a third row seat. I actually drove this car for a full day before I realized it had a third row seat because it folds so flat you can't even see it. It looks just like a gigantic trunk. I was back there fiddling around and realized that it's actually got a third row of seats, and the seats have a lot of room. I was surprised. Now, you have to be a contortionist or a child to get in the third row seats. There's a small armrest that you can flip down between the second row seats to allow you to get into the third row seats. Adults not going to want to do it. That's where you're going to want to put your kids for long trips. Now, the trade-off with the third row seat in this car is that the back row, the second row of seats, only holds 2 people. So normally in an SUV you can get 3 people across in the second row seats, and then you can get 2 more in the third row seats. So basically you're giving up 1 person in the way they have this configured, which isn't necessarily a big deal. It's just something that you might want to know about. You know, if you need to carry 7 people, it might be a bit of a challenge. The middle seat back there in the second row is really small anyway. But this is a nice car. I was kind of wondering, Texas, it's very, very hot. This is August in Texas. You're not going to get hotter temperatures than you find here in August. It's been on average 106 degrees over the last 3 weeks with the heat index, and it's just scorching hot. If you live in a cooler climate, you're probably going to be able to get more all-electric driving time. You won't use as much battery power either because you won't have the AC running. I mean, you can't drive without your AC on hot in Texas at this time of year, without your AC on high rather. It's just too hot. But this car, it gets really, really impressive fuel economy. On the highway, it's got about 30 miles per gallon, and I'm not easy on a car. I don't drive cars like it's a hybrid. I push the pedal and just go. If you really nurse the car along, you can get better gas mileage than that. My wife got better gas mileage than that when she was driving it, and she liked the car. But you know, this is a very nice car. It's a very expensive car. Anytime you get into a hybrid, it's going to really up the price of the car. This car is above the mid-40s as optioned, which, you know, it really puts it in a luxury category. There's a lot of vehicles that compare to this. This is a nice ride. You know, if hybrid is something you want, if you're the green type, or if you just drive a lot and you want to save on fuel, this car definitely do it. And it's full size. I mean, you can get a bunch of people in this car and a bunch of cargo. Anyway, this is Shane, i4U News, signing off. Thanks for riding along with me in the Toyota Highlander Hybrid.